Good morning. All right, so we're live. My name is Dr. Sharnael Wolverton Sehon. I am with Swiftfire International, swiftfire.org, True TV. I wanted to talk to you about technology, high technology, scalar waves. And, wow, I'm going to put a link in here on an interview that I watched with Sasha Stone and these two scientists who had scalar wave technology. And if you guys do your due diligence and look up, a lot of this scalar wave technology was used for MK Ultra stuff. There's a document here that just one of many that I have found on how they're using it for evil purposes, but you can actually use it for positivity too. I know they're using it now for the negative, but they can use it for healing, and they can use it for measuring things. And this is the first time I've definitely heard it for the MK Ultra Mockingbird type stuff. I've heard it, not only that, they can scramble planes and other things in the air, causing confusion in the biofield. That's what Hedy Lamarr had helped use frequency hopping. It was through waves with the submarines that they were using in World War II, so they couldn't find anybody. They weren't able to lock in with their weapons because it was so scrambled. And then of course they used that against us. So anyway, my point is, I've heard of scalar waves being used for the positive with healing specifically. And you can even do this remote, obviously, because there's no time and energy in scalar waves, and it can be done very, very far away. But this is the first time I've actually heard it being used for measurement purposes. And I was just blown away by this interview. And I will post this information here, but I wanted to share because this is really important to you as people and to what's going on here. They did these studies. They were double-blind studies where two people had the technology and they were both in different places, and they were given different people that, in this particular study, it was called witches and warlocks, and they were looking at people of the past who had been burned at the stake or killed or executed because they were called witches of their times. There's a number of people. Joan of Arc was one of them. That's the first person that came up. So immediately I was like, what? Because she's my girl, and I have like a stained glass window of her in my office. She's just someone that's been very much inspiring to me over the years. So basically anything the measurement, there was two measurements. One is 1 to 100 and another is 1 to 1,000. And if you get over 700 to 1,000 is enlightened and like above and beyond the charts. Like most people wouldn't score above 700. But when they interviewed some of these people, they actually just went through the list of different people that they did, and they would log in and show what the waves were, or the measurement was for these people in different categories. And they did it, two different people on two different places with these same exact categories, and they had a 99.9% accuracy, which was ridiculous. It looks like Tamara saw this interview too. I actually wasn't going to watch the interview because it was called Witches and Warlocks, and I was just like, oh, is this going to be about Halloween or, what the witches are up to? I had no idea I was going to go into frequencies and scalar waves and what have you. So when you get 500 is love on scalar wave measurement, and 600 is peace, 700 to 1,000 is enlightenment. And when they did Joan of Arc, she was actually, if I recall, she was born into 100, which is fear. But her connection to God was like in the 900s. Her creativity was like in the 900s. Her integrity was way up there. Her understanding of her call was very, very high as well. And then they would do like her integrity, her loyalty, her finances. Her finances were only like a 200. Her relationships with others was really high too. Her willingness for improvement was like 700 or 800 or 900. I don't remember. I don't remember all the numbers. You guys will have to go back and watch. But for the sake of time and just the story here of explaining, it was high. Like in her ability to be born into fear and yet progress into the 7, 8, 900s was really encouraging, because we can all evolve. We can all move into this greatness with the technology of who we are. Epigenetics is real, and we can move into higher things. We just because we were born into something doesn't mean we have to stay, and we can move up. Now, crazy thing is, so they also tested Notre Dame, who scored really high, almost as high, or if high, in some places higher. I haven't studied him a lot, but it makes me want to. I mean, I know most of the story of whatever, of how he, got all this information. But then they did another lady named Martha, who was actually, I think, hung back in the Salem witch trials because she was a church-going, God-loving, God-fearing woman, very devout Christian, just doing her thing. And, back the kids of those times were, accusing all these different people of witchcraft and witchery. And they happened to pick someone that was her friend. And so she stood up and was like, that's not true, and said some things against what these girls were doing. And the next thing you know, she was on the list. And so she was brought to trial and actually accused and criminally charged as being a witch. And so they hung her. And her husband actually stood up for her too, and then got on that list. And what happens back in the day, and maybe now, is if you are accused and then found guilty of a crime, then you lose all your inheritance. The state or the government can take everything from you, and your children get nothing. So he would not go to trial. He refused to go to trial and wouldn't admit to anything wrong. And so they tortured him by pressing. Pressing is when they use heavy, heavy, heavy rocks and stones and basically smash you to death. And when they kept asking him, you ready to go to trial? Are you ready to admit what you did wrong? He would just say, keep adding more weights. Like that's that's just insane. That he was protecting what was his for his children and ready to have a torturous death for the sake of his children having that inheritance. Now, both of these guys tested way high as saints, way high in connection to God, way high with relationships to others, finances, integrity, whatever. So then they go test the guy who's linked up with the Satan Bible. Crowley, I believe his last name was. I'll have to look it up. Anyway, what's interesting to me is not just him, but this other lady who is accused of being a witch for putting the spell on King Henry and, quote, and killing him, basically, through his spells. They tested, like, really, really low in integrity. They tested really high in ego. But, and hardly any willingness to self-improve. Terrible in relationships, terrible in finances, terrible in integrity, which I mentioned. But when their ability to be present, Crowley actually tested terrible because he was on psychedelic drug. Yes, the Aleister. Oh gosh, Aleister Crowley. Thanks, Kelly. I don't even know if I'm saying that right, but the guy Crowley. I don't even like saying his name, but there we go. He apparently was on psychedelic drugs like all the time, so he had zero presence. not really technically zero, but low presence, because he was off out of his body most of the time. But this is the part that is like intriguing to me, and that I'm just a little bit thrown off, is like the quote bad, the actually technically sinister folks who legit had these really bad scalar waves measurements. They had this knowing of their call. They tested really, really high in the knowing of their calling. They knew what they were here to do. And then there was a percentage of how much they actually enjoyed doing what their role was, why they were here. And like Joan of Arc tested like 98, and Notre Dame, same, in those ranges. But these guys who are really, really dark, they actually tested really, really high, and not only knowing what they were here for, but enjoying it, which is sick and scary that there was this measurement that can, I mean, it's good that we can measure, but, and then they did not mention, I mean, they were comparing, I guess, some of the test results to Fauci and Hillary and some others, and they didn't go into the actual testing of these people, but they were like, oh, wow, Hillary tested lower than that, or Fauci tested lower than that. And I was just like, oh my gosh. So that's scary. Now, they didn't go into releasing the results of the people who are living and on the planet doing their sinister stuff. Because Sasha was actually like, I don't really feel good on a karmic level, on an energy level, to have anybody tested without their permission, just because of karmic law, and they want to keep things on the up. He was cool with the testings of people who have passed because they're gone, I guess. But to know that someone actually can be sinister and enjoy their call, it makes you wonder, like even with Judas in the Bible, it's like, he felt bad about it and hung himself, right? But, and then the reason why they were saying that this whole shadow, dark to light situation is, they were saying that what if people were actually incarnated here for the purpose of polarization, so those who are in light can actually find more light and evolve. It's kind of mind-blowing to think about, but they were talking about how Joan had started out in 100, but with the challenges that she had, it actually pushed her, she still had the choice, but she had the opportunity and the choice to either take what was given her and use it for good and to grow and to evolve and to be a better person by it, or she could have just went the other way, and it was absolutely her choice. But her connection with God and her ability to connect with God was very high, and then this other lady who I was talking about, who was killed, the first person who's ever executed from England for the spells of King Henry. I mean, her channeling, quote, ability to connect, not necessarily with source, but with the outer world was really, really high. And she had claimed that she had a frog named Satan and a black cat. Nothing against black cats, because I have one. But that they were giving her information about what she should do with her life and what steps to take. And so she had no relationship with people, but her ability to get information from a frog and a black cat and to live her life based on what these creatures were giving her. I'm sure they were working with some serious entities through these animals. But anyway, I'm going to do my best to get these people on the show, because I was just like, whoa. I mean, again, I've heard of scalar waves for the purpose of MK Ultra, for sure. We know that's happening. Even cities. I know they did testing in Seattle with the homeless years and years and years ago. And I was looking for that information because I read it about 5 years or 3 years ago, and I was like, oh my God, and I haven't been able to find it again. I wish I had printed it off back in the day, but you can Google CIA scalar waves and get all kinds of documents on the towers that they're using and different things for evil. But of course, they can use it for good. They can use it to heal a whole city. If we can just use this to heal one person at a time, we could blast a whole city too. That's what Tesla really wanted, is to use these towers for healing. And this is what Trump is trying to do, is whether this 5G could be modified to actually send really good signals out to heal our DNA instead of cause this dissonance. But this is the first time I've heard about scalar waves being used for measurement of actual people. Now, what does that mean for us? Again, everything's in the biofield. Everything is code. Everything is numbers. Everything we say, everything we think, everything our heart feels, every action that we have. Your integrity, my integrity can be measured. Our ego can be measured. Our life force can be measured. Our thoughts can be measured. Our call and our ability to even know what our call is. And so I just encourage you, not because you could be measured, oh my God, look out, but because we are here now for the purpose of whatever that is. And hopefully it's for light for everyone watching. And whether it's through social media or just an exchange at the store or the gas station or the post office or in a school, my call and my encouragement to you would just be to spread light and be light and serve in love and help as many people in service as possible through a loving, kind vibration. And you can send love just through your eyes and through a smile. And I played the smile game all the time, or the wave game. We're in the car and we'll be with the girls and I'll be like, hey, let's see how many people will wave back to us. And we just wave to see if they'll wave back. Or we go to the store and say, let's play the smile game, and we give ourselves points just because it's fun. And say like, hey, let's see how many people we can make smile. Like, let's go through the store and just pass people and just smile and go, hi, 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 hi. And just bring light, shed light, be a living, beautiful light everywhere you go. Because we can. Not because we have to, but because we can. And I mean, what other reason are we here for? Now, apparently there's some people here for the dark side. And for those people too, I mean, there's always hope for everybody. And grace, grace, grace. So today is Saturday. I hope you guys will go out and be a beautiful life force for everyone that you contact. And that you send your own personal scalar waves, frequency of beautiful positivity out, because you are not only a giant antenna on a receiving mode, but you are a blasting technology of frequency, and you can carry it in your biofield, and you can touch as many people as possible. There's no time or distance. That's all an illusion. We can be amazing, powerful, radiant light to everyone we contact, even in social media posts and even in letters and even in smiles and hugs. So go do that today. Vote my victory on being able to get these guys on the show. I would absolutely love this. And I'm actually going to have this tested on me on Monday. I'll send the link for that too, where if you guys choose to be tested and measured to see where you're at. But they do this testing for other people. So I will look for that link too and post it. And I'll post the other link where the technology video was. So love you guys. Prayers to wherever those guys are going. And prayers for the United States, for the world, for Trump and all them. And God bless everybody here. All right. Talk to you soon.